I started to actually develop muscle in the right places. I started to do the exercises in the right way. And now 2 years later, I keep getting personal records. I'm never going to go to any competitions. That's not what it's about for me. It's about walking into a place and choosing discomfort day in and day out. For a lot of you that, there's going to be a time period in the next 3 to 6 months where there's going to be less interest in buying or selling a home in your market. What are you doing to prepare for that? So what I asked my agents to do this morning is to think through all of their leads. You can do muscular or otherwise. I don't need an exhaustive list. I don't need an exact number. But when you think about your list of leads, who on the list is you think going to be buying or selling in the next, say, 6 to 12 months? Excuse me, 3 to 6 months, not 6 to 12 months, 3 to 6 months. And let's unpack how to get that person converted. So I want to do that now. Unless you guys have a pressing question, an urgent need, I want you to think through over the next 3 to 6 months. You've got some people that are in your mind, whoever came to your mind. I don't need all of them. Just, I got this guy, or I got this lady, or I got this client, or I got this past client, I got this friend, I got this muscular lead, whatever it is. And they said they're 3 to 6 months out. What's your plan for that person? I want to talk to somebody. Who wants to go first? So a couple of microphones, unmute and then remute. So if you're talking right now, I can't hear you.
I'll go ahead and go. Mine's a little bit further out. And so what I was going to do was reach out to them early next year before the selling starts to take off in spring, because in our area, it's more cyclical. So January, February usually aren't very good months. But, as you know, you need to get your home ready. You got to get it, are you staging it? What type of furniture do you have? I know in our conversations last time, homes that are 8, 9, maybe 10 out of 10, those are the ones that sell. 7 out of 10s don't. So it has to be like check all the boxes. So
Sure.
my goal would be to reach out to my people early next year, right after the holidays, and then kind of just do a checkup, see where they're at, see where their values are, and so forth.
Okay. So first, Jesse, I want to commend you for always being somebody that's sharing and growing. Right, that's where you get the most value out of our time together. And so let's unpack this a little bit. I don't need a full summary, but just more or less what makes them not ready to sell right now. What's their reason?
There's only a handful, so I don't have very many. But I'll give you an example. There's one where my listing's going to expire, and he timed the market horribly, and we already know that. So we're with one that I'm going to expire this weekend. I'm going to have to hit the ground running with that one, and so he doesn't want to move in winter. So to answer that question,
got it.
There's another one that has so much junk. It's like if you've ever been to a pick and pull, a big junkyard. He's got so much. There's not a whole lot I can do with that other than calling the cavalry. And then there's a couple others with a lot of acres, and they've got, like cars, trash, stuff like that. You got to get that stuff cleaned up. So probably should check in with them at the end of October because it takes a long time to get that stuff moved. Now that I think about it. But that's kind of the story there.
Okay. So this is great. So first, one of the byproducts of talking about your pipeline is you start to think about it. And you, in just sharing with me some details, have already come to a conclusion. Wait a second. If they've got to remove all this stuff, it's going to take a while, right? And so that, first of all, by thinking about them, it helps you to start to strategize a little bit differently. I think, when you've got people with legitimate reasons why, like, for example, junk in the yard, there's a temptation to be like, so, you call them next year, you ready yet? Right?
Yeah.
And that's certainly one way to run your business. It is. And I think for all of you that are hearing me talking right now, you can do that. You can wait a year and 6 months and see if they're ready. I think, we work so hard to have these conversations with prospects. And in your case, Jesse, you're doing a lot of work. And so I think something you need to be thinking about is how can you get intimately involved in the process to where you're like the no brainer. So some things that I would do and be thinking about is, you reference the Calvary, right? Um, you know, I, uh, I would probably start to think through, like a list of vendors that maybe
Right.
offer
Have
junk
some.
removal.
Sure. Yep.
And then
Okay.
and then also, if you know some people, maybe they're some college kids home for the winter, and say, I don't know what your MLS rules or your local association rules are about recommending non-licensed laborers, but you could, as long as you're allowed to do it, you could say, hey, got a couple of kids that I ran by that are looking for some work. You still looking to remove some stuff, right? Um,
Okay.
and so you got to do it. The delivery of this is really important. Okay. So
Okay.
I don't call them and say, hey, I wanted to update you, I've got some laborers for you. No, 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 no.
Right. Right.
It's like,
Right.
hey, I just wanted to see how's the home treating you, any changes to the property, anything I should know about. No, Jesse, everything's the same, still not ready yet. Yeah, okay, no problem. Hey, well, actually, that's why I was calling. Right. So you start with kind of them just sharing what's going on, and they're
Sure.
probably not going to have a lot of change. And say, I've got some options for you because I know it's a daunting task. If I was able to find a couple of people that are trying to help and it's a little bit less expensive, is that something that's interesting to you? Right?
Okay.
Just float the idea by. To be
Load it.
candid
Yeah.
with you, I really don't need them to say yes. It's the fact that you're participating in the prep in a way that's collaborative and
Okay.
supportive. This is the part that most agents miss. And I think it's the part that sellers in particular value the most.
Okay.
I do not go on a lot of listing appointments, not being in production, but I had a friend that had an elderly. He's a financial planner, has a very well off elderly client that her husband just passed away, and she doesn't really want a lot of people in her home, and so she wanted, basically, the financial planner and I went on a listing appointment, right? So that's just the environment. She was really nervous,
Mhm.
and she's got a lot of stuff living in that house for 40 years. And as we got to talking, I said, would it help you if, as we're going through the possessions in your home, I had someone, maybe you make a pile of the things you really like, or the things that have sentimental value but you don't want to take with you. If we took pictures of each of those items for you and put them in a catalog, so that while you don't want to take everything with you, you'll always have the memory of these different possessions in your family home. And she just
Oh, okay.
loved that idea. She
Great.
just was so like, it was like I was in touch with what her greatest need is. Right now, I don't get paid to pay a photographer to take pictures of, like her husband was a woodworker, and there was stuff. There was a spice rack, and I asked her. I said, "Well, your husband made that. Is that something you want to take?" She's like, "No, in the new apartment, I won't have room." I said, "Okay, well, that's an example. We could take a picture of that." And I saw her wheels spinning because now I'm aligning with her outside of, I had all this marketing material and all this stuff that I was going to go over about marketing the home. That's not what she needed right then. She needed a planner, somebody to come in and help her strategize on the best way to go. So I really want to encourage you, Jesse, with your pipeline. I gave you one example,
Right.
strategizing around the junk removal, but I want you to ask more questions of your clients to find out what the blockers are when you're with them. So, for example, all right, Mr. Smith, let's say we're able to remove the stuff from your home that we discussed would hinder a top sale. What else is on your mind on things that are hindering you or problems that you're facing when you think about selling this home and relocating? What are the things that maybe keep you up at night or stress you out? I'd like to know, because I have a lot of resources available to me. And if I know what's on your heart and what's on your mind, I can come alongside you and help make this process easier. When we take this approach with our seller leads, we become valuable outside of just selling the home for the most amount of money. And
Right.
I'll just tell you, after 27 years in this business, if you don't want to lose a listing later on, you bring your A game.
Okay.
And so, any questions about that, Jesse? I mean, I feel like you're
No.
already of this
No.
mind, but I think a
Yeah.
little focus would be smart.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. Thank you.
Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, anyone else have someone that's not quite ready and have a topic with regards to your pipeline that isn't as straightforward as they got to fix their home or they got to prep the home to sell and we're waiting? Anyone else have your pipeline and you got seller leads on the fence? People that are not sure if they want to sell yet and you're trying to encourage your pipeline. And the idea here is you need to be preparing. Most markets across the country slow down during the winter. If you're not preparing your pipeline and you're not connecting with your pipeline, you're leaving money on the table. Our
Hey, I
business
got a
is not
question.
feast or famine. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing, Barry? Hey,
Good, man. How are
actually,
you?
I'm good. Hey, better hanging in there. I got
Good.
a lead. It was actually one of the first few that came through, and I actually ended up having to just go to the place, met with the clients, and the lead that it's a rock. Sorry, I'm watching my kid. Um,
Yeah.
the lead came through the daughter who she was saying her parents aren't doing well. She's kind of prepping for the eventual reality of
Uh-huh.
losing her father. I ended up going to the place, meeting with the folks. They're great. I met with them a couple times. Thing is, right now, I'm just trying to stay top of mind, but it's basically just hanging on. The guy is very resigned to the fact that he's going to exit life soon. I had to put it
Okay.
gently. And so,
Yeah.
how do I kind of keep touching them without like, hey, are you dead yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, where you at with the dying? I don't know how to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
they're in the area, so I can always swing by and be like, hey, I was in the area. But just trying to think of a real cordial way to kind of stay top of mind.
Sure. Sure. Well, let me ask some more questions. So,
Yeah,
um, are they happy where they are? Like, do you feel like that they want to stay in that home?
he wants to die there.
He wants to die there. Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
no hospice.
So I would, and then any interest that you're aware of, anything that he's passionate about, any hobbies, anything that he enjoys that you could pick up on.
I mean, he's physically unable to do most anything. Yeah, prepping, setting up, everything for his family, his wife mainly, and then his daughter as well, making sure they're
Okay.
good,
Okay. So that's what came through. So
passing on his
then,
legacy. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I would start to think through someone that is looking at leaving this earth. You know, if their passion is trying to make things easy in that next wave, um, I wouldn't go to the house or call and say, "Hey, I want you to prepare for when you die." So I have a list of things I want to send you, right? What you're going to do is, you're going to maybe call with a market update of the home value. So this isn't something you're going to do every 60 days, obviously.
Yeah.
And so you start the call with maybe that, and then as you're going over the market value changes, and just wanted to give you an update. Maybe you float the idea of, there's some things that as you guys are thinking about this transition for your family that are going to probably be helpful for them. For example, like with your possessions and things like that, would it help you if I gave you some direction on some things you can be doing to kind of simplify what's in the house and prepping the home for whenever you decide to sell? So you basically go there in your mind, and I'll be candid with you, and it's gonna feel like I'm changing the subject, but I'm not. When I meet someone going through a tragedy, like let's say they lost a loved one, there's kind of two responses in that moment. One is, I'm very sorry for your loss, and then you quickly change the subject because you're uncomfortable, right? That is one way to do it, and I feel like a lot of people handle really hard conversations around death that way. The other side, when someone says, "Yeah, I just lost my loved one," we say, "I'm so sorry for your loss," and then we ask maybe, "How are you doing? Was it unexpected? How's the family? Where you're expressing the practicality of the circumstance, because death specifically is very sobering and it's something they have to live with, whether they've experienced it by losing a loved one or when they know their death is imminent. So they're not afraid of the topic. We are, right? And so, for example, was it the daughter or the parent that told you that they were dying soon, or was it both?
It was the daughter initially, and then that meeting with the folks. They like I said, he's actually very resigned to what's happening
Yeah.
and where
Yeah.
he's at.
So
And
so
so
he's super
he's in the
comfortable with
best
it.
place out of everybody, 100%. Oh yeah, he's
Yeah, so
very
he's super
comfortable talking
comfortable
about
with
it.
the topic. So I think lead into the relationship by talking about the market value update, because that's like a soft interest, and then you know, Mr. Smith, I've been thinking a lot about your circumstance. There's some things that I think we could probably be doing and have you involved with regards to, for example, your possessions. Who you want the possessions to go to, what, how you want to prepare the home. I think there's some things and some projects you and I could work on together so that you can make sure that, for example, maybe you have a trophy case and you want your trophy case to your grandson, or like I can start to help you plan all that out. But again, that's an oh by the way statement. That's not, don't lead with that. That's you lead with the market update, and then you float the idea of helping to prepare the home and the possessions. Because if he's brought it up to you, he's obviously comfortable with it, and I think it would be probably a way to show value that is really helpful. And then with the daughter, I think that's a very different situation. Where with the daughter, I think you can basically just say, "Hey, something I do for clients in your family situation is I start to think through what are the resources that your family's going to need. Here's some categories of some things that I can support you with. Just tap me when the time is right." And you can just go through the different things: house cleaning, house prep. Don't call it junk removal. Personal possession removal, things like that, to
State
where,
sale, yeah.
yeah, you're prompting them. And then in Jesse's situation, he's got several clients in this situation. I mean, I don't know, just thinking out loud, but what if you were able to do you market a yard sale for the community, and you put these three addresses, right? Um,
Idea.
Not saying it'll work, right? But I'm just saying these are the things you can be thinking about to add a layer of value. Now, let's say that works. Let's say you run a joint yard sale with these different neighbors to help remove some possessions. You put on the bottom sponsored by Acme Realty or whatever your respective brokerage is. People are going to be like, wait a second, what is that real estate agent doing? Why are they doing that? You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
Maybe
Think so much.
you hire a food truck in front of in Ryan's situation. Maybe it's an ice cream truck. Hey, I want to do something nice for your family. Can I support a family day in the neighborhood to where you guys can all come out, hang out with granddad? I want to sponsor it. That's going way above because you haven't got a contract signed. But I really want, if this is the only thing you learn from me in today's session, it's that providing tremendous value early on in the process is the way you develop your pipeline. Now, outside of these high touch and candidly expensive, both with time and money processes I just shared, having a cyclical process where you're creating a task and contacting these people on a rhythm of some kind is vital. They're going to forget about you. And if you're like most of my agents, the people that have been nice to you and you put them in a warm stage and you made the note, candidly, those are the ones that you talk to the least amount because you're worried about screwing it up. You finally got somebody that was cool, and you see their name and you're like, man, John's cool. I'm not going to worry about him, right? And you're coming from such a fantastic place. The problem is you're doing literally the opposite of what you should be doing. It's like if you've ever been married and something's bothering you and you don't want to bring it up to your spouse because you're like, oh, we had such a good day. I don't want to ruin it by sharing what bothers me, right? When really that's literally the thing that you should be doing. You should be sharing what bothers you, regardless of if you've had a good day or not, right? And so in this situation, talking to your pipeline literally is the way to ensure that the rest of the year you are going to produce revenue. And here's what I said to my agents. My agents, some of them are going to suffer this winter, and it's not going to be because of the market. It's not going to be because of the leads. It's going to be because they did not prepare for what was coming. And I told them the same thing I'm going to tell you. I am giving you the gift of foresight right now. There is a winter coming. And for some of you, that means a decrease in revenue. I am telling you the future, literally. And now you have the decision of how are you going to prepare for what's about to come in your business. You could be a victim or you could be a victor, like Victor Rodriguez. No, you could be a victim or a victor, right? And you could decide to complain and be frustrated and say things to like yourself. Maybe real estate's not for me. Maybe sales isn't for me. Maybe this job isn't for me. Real estate's not what it used to be. That is a decision that you can make based on the outcome. Or you can control your own destiny. You can make a decision that you have a list of humans in your database that you've spoken to that weren't ready. And you can take a proactive approach starting now to add insane value digitally through email, through text, phone calls, in-person visits, dropping off cards. If you do those things, you will increase your sales. Business development as a business owner, creating revenue is not an option. And for a lot of really great salespeople, they do not live with intention. They wake up in the morning and they wait for what I call the tyranny of the urgent. Whoever is texting, whoever is emailing, whoever is asking a piece of my time, that's who gets it every day. And candidly, you've experienced a measure of success in your life because of that. You're responding. But you will always be capped on the amount of revenue that you bring into your business if that's your optic all day. Respond, 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 respond. Going from average to great in any business, but especially in real estate, it requires you to have a degree of intention with your pipeline to where you make a conscious decision every week to focus on business development related activities. I guarantee you, after 27 years in this industry, I guarantee you, if you live with intention and have a business development streak with your pipeline, specifically, you will have winters that no longer starve. It is not the truth. It is not a fact that this business is feast and famine. What happens is we feast and we stop doing business development because we're feasting. That's what's happening. And so you have to have enough discipline in your career to recognize that if you don't want to starve this winter, it's going to be because you got off this call and today and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, you made some simple promises or changes to your processes. And let me also guarantee you something. If you're listening to my voice right now and next week you start doing this, I guarantee you there's going to be moments that you feel like it's an absolute waste of time. And that's why people don't do it. Because it's not an immediate gratification thing. None of these calls and emails and texts next week are going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Can we list our home tomorrow? It just doesn't freaking work that way, right? And so we get in our heads and we get discouraged and we put it off and we think, oh, real estate's not for me. No, it is for you. But what you don't understand is the doorway to the next level of your career. That doorway is literally called discomfort. And the only way to go from your current income bracket to the next income bracket is walking through the doorway of discomfort. And guess what happens when you go to the next level? You want to know how to go to the next level after that? It's another doorway. You know what that doorway is called? It's called being uncomfortable. It never, ever, ever goes away. It might smell different. It might look different. but it's all uncomfortable. I am literally positioned in my career right now in some of the most uncomfortable circumstances I have ever been in. I just sold one of my companies a few months ago, got more cash at once than I've ever got, and I was tempted to go on vacations and like chill, like do some fun stuff. You know what I did? I took that money, and to use a role like gambling metaphor, I put it all on black. I'm like, all right, here we go. And there's a 50-50 chance there's something wrong with me because I'm like swinging for the fences in my life. And, from my perspective, I just want you guys to know the opportunity is yours. It's literally in front of you. You just have to reach out. You have to do the uncomfortable thing, press into it, and you're going to make more money as a result. So if you're not driving, I want you to give me a thumbs up either with the emojis at the bottom of the Zoom screen or a real thumbs up with, all right, I'm getting lots of emojis. This is what I need, guys. I need your commitment to do the uncomfortable thing. Call these clients, put yourself in a position, okay, this is exactly what we need. And so then let's talk about this since I got so many thumbs up. So next week, you're going to focus on developing your pipeline. And I want to give you another gift of foresight. More than likely, it's not going to produce revenue right away. All right. And you're going to switch back to what you know, which is the tyranny of the urgent. Who needs me? What do they need? And you're not going to live with intention with regards to your business. And so what you have to do is you have to curb that fear, curb that distraction, and just make a decision that if you want to make that money in winter, it's going to be because you stayed focused. And using a different analogy for me with the gym, for the first 6 months, honestly, it felt like a complete waste of time. And I just trusted the process with my trainer. And, I had been working out 6 months by myself and I was doing it all wrong. I was like lifting really heavy weights because I wanted to look strong. It was like ego lifting. I just wanted to look like I was doing something. And like with chest, instead of using my chest, I was lifting too heavy weights and I was like using all shoulders. Like I wasn't using my chest at all, right? Because I was doing it wrong. So then my trainer brought me back down to like weights that I felt like a very weak individual, and he was wrecking me with them, right? Like instead of doing 12 reps, maybe I was doing 20. It was horrible. But then something started to happen as I remained consistent with this new adventure in weightlifting. I started to actually develop muscle in the right places. I started to do the exercises in the right way. And now 2 years later, I keep getting personal records. I'm never going to go to any competitions. That's not what it's about for me. It's about walking into a place and choosing discomfort day in and day out. And I've said this on this call before, and then we'll end here. Every time you do something you don't feel like doing, the physiological part of your brain, there's a part of your brain that physically grows every time you choose to do something you don't want to do. Now, what does that mean? That means that part of your willpower gets stronger every single time. And just like any new change, I just talked to somebody that's trying to quit caffeine for 21 days. Don't know why, but that's just something that's important to her. Whatever, it's her thing. And I said to her, all right, the first 4 days are going to suck. Guess what? The first 4 days, they sucked, right? And each time she wants it and she says, I'm not going to do it because this is a commitment I'm making to myself. She gets a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. So next week, this weekend, whenever you have time, dive into your pipeline, be insanely valuable, and most of all, be consistent. You'll make more money as a result, okay? Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm going to see you next week, and thanks for all your hard work.